All right. Let me just start talking on this and I'll get you to where I would like to work tonight, okay? First, I don't think that anyone learns an art and then you study some art. I think that's a very academic point of view, and when I say academic, I mean it's not truthful. It's not accurate. It's a point of view made for the production of a discourse, and then that discourse goes on to serve something. So, for example, the idea as modern Aikidoka today, they want to know what O-sensei studied, and then they're picturing that, you know, he combined this and that, and he came up with this or that. And this is bullshit. This is just not how a human being works. We are much more organic. We're not at all like computers like that, where I take this information, I take that information, and I come up with this kind of a harmony of the two or some equal measure of the two. That's not what we do. Okay? The ego tripartite mind goes around and it structures everything. Okay? It takes parts, it recognizes them as parts, but in its recognition of parts, it takes other aspects and makes wholes, okay? And those parts and those wholes come to construct our identity. And so as you study something, and you study multiple things, and you have multiple experiences, there are this radical process of parts and wholes being made that come to make up you. And when you get to the wholes that are you, there's no distinguishable parts in them. So if someone says to me today, are you doing Kenpo? I say yes. If they say, are you doing Aikido? I say yes. Somebody asked recently, when are you going to do you still do Kenpo? It's like, yes, my Aikido is Kenpo. And then someone said, well, oh, could you make some videos on Kenpo? Dude, that's all I've been making. Okay? Because it's just me. It's just me. Everything that I do gets filtered through the me, through the ego tripartite mind. Everything gets filtered through there. What I do is me. It's my art. What my mind calls it Kenpo, calls it Aikido, but I know that's all delusion, so I don't care what you call it. This all gets compounded by the fact that I know the ego tripartite mind is not the whole of me. There is another aspect of me that transcends that mind, and therefore there is another aspect of me that transcends both Kenpo and Aikido, both the division, both the communion. So it doesn't matter at all what you call it. It is both me and not me. I'm both being described correctly, but also incorrectly. So, taking that and coming a little bit more down to earth, I would like to use a dichotomy that Mr. Parker used. So I trained with Mr. Parker. He had a huge influence on how I think about a martial art, fighting, which is the kinesiology of human v human violence. This is all Mr. Parker and Mr. Pick. It's not Chiba Sensei, and it's not O Sensei. So this is why my Aikido not only looks different, it does not only function different, but even at basic elemental levels. Why is your foot like that? Why is your knee like that? Why is that angle there? And thereby, why do you use that timing, not this timing? And thereby, why are you in that mai, not this mai? All that is from these two men, not the Aikido lineage. That is why my Aikido does not look like other people's Aikidos. They don't have that lineage. The Kenpo practitioners that have that lineage, they're not doing Aikido Kihon Waza. But if they did, it would look the same. If they trained at my level, it would look the same. So a dichotomy that Mr. Parker gave us as a tool is the difference between science and style. Mr. Parker wanted our movement to be scientifically valid, by which I would tell you he meant kinesiologically sound. And he knew from his study of martial arts that oftentimes people in the martial arts are not kinesiologically sound, but they have the impression or the delusion, my word, that they are because they look like this teacher or that teacher, or they look like this poem says to look, or this maxim says to look. And he would call that not soundness, but style. And I would put before you that Aikido is driven not by kinesiologically sound movement, but mostly by style movement, stylistic movement. Christopher Hines pointed this out when he said that there's an aesthetic that drives Aikido today, and he's 100% right. There's more people interested in the adoption of the look of what has become Aikido than they are in kinesiologically sound movement. Movement that is biomechanically capable of gaining advantage in human v human violence. They have made the mistake, the one that Parker pointed out, that style, because it looks like this teacher or looks like this maxim or whatever, is biomechanically sound, is kinesiologically sound, is martially sound. It's not true. What you see today with bracing angles and this erect posture, then this lifted chin, this exposed throat, those pelvic tilts that put all this pressure into the lower back, all those samurai poses, do you see? We know is from Western influence. They're all military dressage. They're all artificial postures that are not, this is the best way of movement. They just have come to be known as this is the best way to move, but they're not. They're just style. And I would say that even in a martial lineage like Chiba Sensei's, you still had style. You have major style, not kinesiological soundness. Okay? And this has a lot to do with what is my foot angle and what is my weight distribution. And as I said, as we go into Sancho 3, or even any of the Sancho, why I do that move like this and not that move like that, okay? And I'll give you a quick example of how I changed Sancho 1 Part 1 and how I saw people struggling falsely, unnecessarily, because they would not free themselves from style and just move into kinesiological soundness, okay? And so because my form is different, not just in its execution, but even in its architecture from just one generation above Chiba Sensei's form. So I'll show that now. Okay, Sancho 1-1, it begins with a ski. So he skis, good, okay? And we change this group, there you go. All right, that's where he is, and that's his mind. And in the form as it was originally shown, and is still done this way by a lot of people, you would do your normal kesauchi, which is a 3-step process. So I would take my left foot, and I would take my right foot, get the angle, and then finish with that tenkan on the angle. Okay? And it would look something like this. And it all looks fine. And so people do it over and over and over, okay? But if we look at it, and he has the right my, which is there, he has full penetration of my torso, okay? And then I take that step off the line, going forward, or at least to the 90. And then I now take the other foot and I move into Kamae. And now I Tenkan. And now somehow I end up over here. Okay? So this is clearly not the right line. And people start doing some weird things to make that work or look to work when it didn't work. One of the most common things is that you don't actually ski with the right penetration. He was never going to hit me anyways. And now I can do that. And you can see I'm getting a little in the area. Okay? Or I combine this under penetration where he would never hit me with a step that goes out this way. You see? And exposing all of this area and being very twisted if I didn't expose it. And then I come out. And now I got in the right area. Okay? But this makes no sense. He goes again to give my flank to him. That's not in a weapon fighting system. No, I would never do that. You can go to your firearms. He goes, and I wouldn't go like that. This is a very difficult shot to make. No one would ever do that. I would keep my gun pointed at him. Pointed at him. Okay? Even if I had to do that weird twist there. Alright, so eventually in the Kenshin class, people realize, this is all kind of weird. Especially when Chiba Sensei started having us do a double ski. So a double ski attack. Boom and boom, okay. That revealed something that I knew from the sidelines as I was being told to do this weird step. That I had 3 steps to his 1 step, and that never works in weapons fighting. So again, he goes 1 step, and I was going to go 1, 2, 3. And that just never works in weapons fighting. And the double ski reveals it. He goes 1, and you're going to get hit every time. So what people did eventually in San Diego was, and it's so weird that you can't do it, okay? Is they did a little baby step. This thing. So I would go here, 1, 2. 1, 2. It makes for all this tension in the body. And it seemed like, well, I know I got to have my right foot forward and my right hand forward. And that's what they were doing. But I'm not sure it helps the double ski. And that's why we went, okay, the form wants my right foot forward, my right hand forward. And that's why we went with the Shido Tenkan. And when you add his true penetration, then the technique works. See there? Whereas the other little baby steps, it works a little better, but not really. I'm all jammed up. And I'm open to the double C. Okay? Double C. It's right there. Is also why, in our form, I don't block. I don't block. I don't have to block because I'm not clearing the line inside the weapon arc. This is the weapon arc. I'm not ever clearing the line inside the weapon arc. Do it again. Or inside the radius. I'm inside the radius, so I need some deflection so he doesn't follow me. Even on the other one, If he does true penetration, I'm inside the radius. I need something keeping it to the left as I move to the right. On the Ushido Tenkan, true penetration, I'm not inside the radius. So I don't have to block. Which is why when we go embryonic, I'll touch and hit. But when we go for real, I'm hitting him as he's hitting me. Okay? And it's just a defensive path of action. It's not an angle of deflection. Okay? And now it makes more sense. You did one step, I did one step, I hit you as you hit me. That's martial. Okay? Me doing 3 steps, you doing 1 step, you not throwing anything and waiting for me to finish those 2 steps, that's not martial. That's style. Okay? So we're going to look at the particulars of the footwork and the hip angle and all this kind of stuff to get rid of what to me always looks weird when Aikido people are standing in what is clearly stylistic, removing the weapon stylistically instead of kinesiologically sound ways. Okay? Okay. So, stand in the beginning. Okay, cool, stay there. All right. So, Sean's been with me for a while, but he has lots of Federite Aikido in him. And this is similar in that you don't have your duck, you're not standing like this, right? So he's not standing like this, okay? But it's still different enough, okay? Taylor, what can you describe as different?
The back heel isn't up on the rear foot.
Okay.
So the weight is, like it doesn't look like a very athletic or mobile stance from that point of view.
And so oftentimes when we begin the form like Sancho 3, because nothing has been committed yet, you want to be as neutral as possible. And so you want to adopt what Bruce Lee called a phasic stance, in which we use in Kempo for those times, okay? And that made you not overcommitted to the rear heel, okay? So even in modern Kendo, you'll see they'll be with that rear heel up, okay? And so what Taylor's talking about is oftentimes when there is no commitment yet because I don't know where I'm going to move, I don't want a base, I don't want a grounded foot, okay? And so my rear heel is more up. If it's not being weighted, which it will be if it's bracing, okay? And so sometimes I'll have the heel down, as in this case, but not here, because then it's going to be bracing. Yours is back more. So if you look, and you pick this arm up, you have this line, this diagonal line. And I would like to see it straight on the midfoot. So you would have to bring this foot in, okay? And that's gonna make your Hanmi Shizentai turn, okay? So here is Shizentai right underneath my hips. That's where my feet go. And when I go to Hanmi, I'll turn to the 90. Okay, so I square one foot to my angle of attack or defense, and the other foot will go to the 45, and my feet are still underneath my hips. Okay? So let's re-angle that leg where you had it a little more. Very cool. Okay, got it? And now to show you how we're off, leave the balls of your feet where they are and turn them square to the 45. Yeah, there you go. And you can see that you're wider. These feet are not underneath your hips. Okay? So we put them underneath your hips. And this is your Shizentai. And this is also where your bones and all your matter are stacking and can be stacked over the midfoot. See? When you open your feet, then they're falling inside. That weight is falling inside. You see that? And you have to use flexion to not have your knees go in and stuff. You have to hold them out. Do you get it? Okay. So instead, you want to be able to stack your bones. So that means feet are under your hips. Okay? And so from that is Shizentai. And now from Shizentai, you straighten the foot to the angle the opponent's at, and you bring that other foot into a 45. And that is Hanmi. Okay? And what you'll notice that something else that happened is now you'll have an angle to you. You're still trying to force it. Don't force it. Be comfortable. So you want that 45 on the chest, okay? Go back where your foot was. Do you see? And then do what you wanted to do. And now you're square. And this is actually not Hanmi, because Hanmi means half body. Do you see? So you're as wide a target as you can be. And you're trying to hide behind this little sword, but you got a lot of you showing. You see that? All right, so let's bring the feet where we want, and then make sure we're angled behind the sword. There you go. Okay, and this is now on me. Now, if you want, and you take that heel off because you're grounding on the midfoot of the back foot, and you're more athletic, like this could go wherever. And you can move, you see, wherever you need to, as fast as you can. Do you get it? Okay, so I'm just going to chuck this thing at you. Got it? And you better not let it hit you. You better get the freak off that line. There you go. Back in it. Yeah, you don't have to duck. Just move off the line. Okay? Good. Now start deepening your feet again. Square your body up, and you'll feel how much slower this is. Go back to narrow base, feet underneath you, weighted. You ready? Be light, be light, be light, ready to move. There you go. That's it. There you go. Okay? Let's do the other one. I know you don't do it. Okay? And the same thing. Oh, and you can see is you're dead. Okay? Especially if we get, like we picture samurai. I got all this tension here. Right? Can you do it for me? Tense up. There you go. Stand up straight. Good. Look how samurai he looks. You see? And you can't move. I see. And you wouldn't ever stand that way if there was a big knife fight. You would not go, stability! You're like, no. Mobility now. Okay? Let me have you both play with that. Okay. You can penetrate as much as you want. Good. Okay, wait, if that's the goofy one, let's do it right. So get on the tightrope, turn your feet out, get that tension in your body. Good. And so you could say, like, especially if we're not gonna start attacking, like, you know, like we're Aikido people, but we're over here, right? And I'm trying to get a beat on him, and I'm gonna go for the tackle and stuff, right? So he gets in that goofy tightrope stance, and he isn't holding his tension, right? I'm over, he's dead. Dead. Right? Boom. Pop, pop, pop. Doesn't work. It's not martially sound, it's not kinesiologically sound, it's just stylistically reproductive. That's all it is, okay? All right. A very common one is due to the Makiatoshi. Or just whatever. Cool. Okay. A very common one is that I move this over here, and I drop on the side of my weapon. I don't know where you need to be to see that. I just drop. My weight is over my feet. Okay? Boom. Boom. And then obviously, there's some weight connection, okay? Such that he grabs, I can put my weight in my hand, you see, and drop my weight, and there's some weight connection. But when I put this underneath and do the same thing, there's more weight plus whatever internal aspects I get, you see? So, very common thing is you'll see the deep stance again, okay? And now, as you're doing this, you've made things worse because weight's out here, weight's out here, weight's here where my butt is. Whereas if my feet were closer, the weight's more here. There's weight on my feet, weight on my feet, weight on my butt line, and I'm closer to the jaw. I'm now spreading it out, you see? And the jaw will get lighter. Boom, gets lighter. You see, you actually pick me back up, okay? So you see a lot of people do this. And there's no real power in the weapon, okay? So I have to stack my bones. And I'm gonna use Hanmi again, which is just Shizentai, okay? So I'm gonna drop weight, and once the weight can't drop anymore over the midfoot line, I bring it over the jaw. The weight's on the jaw. Okay, so if you come over here, you're off on the side. I go here, Joe's out there, or my weight's here, and you lift the jaw, you'll feel that there's no weight really on it. But if I were, go ahead and grab it. If I'm pushing my weight over it, you're gonna feel my weight as you try to lift up.
Right.
Now I add my weight dropping, and you can see there's way more weight on that thing. So grab, I'm doing the same move, and there's a lot of weight on the weapon. So a lot of people think this is martially sound, but it's not. This is style. Martially sound is here. Okay? Here's where I want to be. A lot of people think that you're pinned. You're not pinned. You're not pinned because you really haven't compromised your knee bend. Your knee bend doesn't go any further than normal. So as I'm doing the move, you can move. You can move just as quickly, okay? So we'll have you do that so you can see. Just get into those different positions. Good. You're on the side. So they usually drop their butt lower. They think that's it. And then you can see. So the resistance to the lift is how much downward force you would have in this otoshi. Okay, so we'll do that one more time. Okay, lower your butt like you got you went really low. okay? There's no weight on it, okay? And that just gets exponentially worse at the distal end. There's just no weight on it. You see? And now we'll have you go into find Shizentai first, because you're going to stack the bones. Then find Han-Mi. You turn the foot toward the angle. There you go. Okay? And you drop. And what you're doing here is like you're doing a back squat. Feel that line. That's your posture. The downward line there, which is the downward line of the Joe. Okay? Actually, it's right there. Okay? And then it'll be impossible for me to lift that thing up on you. Okay? Got it? And again, you can see, oh yeah, that's way heavier than the other one. Okay? Make sense?
Yes.
All right. We'll have you guys play with that. So this is very common too, that a lot of people can't lower the butt without pointing their toes out. This is going to heel weight you. So this is going to move your body mass line of gravity further away from the Joe. Okay, so he's got his toes pointed away from each other. This is going to heel weight him, and you can lift and see how light this is. And you'll feel your weight go right away to your heels, do you see? Okay, and now the common one, like you get really low, do you see? It'll just make it worse because there's more weight further away from the Joe as you lowered the butt. It's actually lighter, okay? All right, now we'll try the right one. So find Shizentai, then turn your foot towards the line of attack because we are fighting someone. Yeah, you got to turn a little more. It should be, there you go, okay? And then you have that back squat line over your Joe line, okay? All right. And you'll see you brought your weight closer to it, okay? There you go. Okay, good. And that's all downward force onto the tsuba and into their center, okay? All right, let us go to the bokken. And we'll try the technique with the tsugiyashi forward to make sure you're not pinning yourself, okay? Because you in particular, sometimes you don't bend your knees. You just lean over the Joe line. And that will pin your feet. You do bend your knees. And then I want a fast tsugiyashi. You don't have to ski, but I want you down and in. Okay, let's go. Let's martial up a little bit. Like, good. Get your weight on there. Good. Come down the tsuba. Nope. Your foot went off. You're gonna go down. Then in. There you go. One more. And in, there you go. And you see his foot's not pinned, okay? And once you have internal skills, you can bounce the weight that's going down, you can bounce it off to move the front foot forward, okay? Which is what I do to you guys all the time. So that's why it's so fast, okay? Okay, now let's have you have the Joe. Just a second. Okay, and you did Junta Toshizuki. So that last one, yes, there you go. Okay, and we're looking at this stance here. Okay, got it? Okay, so let me check it out. All right. So if you pay attention, you have an angle on this ankle. Do you see that? Okay. Yeah, that would be an exaggeration of the angle. Okay. I want to pay attention to that. Okay. And then this looks good. Okay, and what I'm noting here is, you see how this hip is more forward than that back hip, which it should be. And for this back hip, for this hip to come forward, for this quad to close, this knee should be in alignment with it. Meaning, let me push it, that's incorrect. And as you go here, incorrect, this knee's out of alignment, I know that you feel that you don't have a base at that angle. Do you see? Which a lot of people will do a Toshizuki, and they have to step off the line this way. Chiba Sensei would have to do that all the time. And it's because the hip, knee, foot alignment is not there, and you start to now have horizontal forces cutting across your stance, okay? Where you're not strong because you have kind of adopted a tightrope stance, you see? Because I'm now penetrating. I gave a purpose to my stance, and I'm going to take advantage of my biomechanics for that singular purpose, in this case, edeme, okay? But within your edeme, you're adapting for the fact that your stance is narrow, and the way you do that is this quad closes a little, allowing the knee to come, and that requires the foot to be slightly turned in. There's no way around it. So if you, for example, turn your foot out, try, right, you see? Now, let's even do straight. And you'll feel tension here, you see? There's now tension across the inner knee, and as a result, you've had to unturn the hip and not close the quad. And now there's no quad power into the ski. You see that? And you're still injuring your knee. If you turn your foot out, all this is now amplified even worse, okay? And strangely, this line gets worse, you see? And that other line gets worse too, okay? And it's strange because a lot of people think that this is actually helping you stay on that line, but it's not, because you're generating this force line, right? And then the other one, I'm not going to say it's the exact opposite. This is the force line to the front. Do you see that makes me want to fall that way? Whoa. And the other one is more through here. It cuts through this line here, and it's going this way. Okay, so why is that important, that second line? It cuts through here, which is why when I do that, you feel that, okay? All right, why is that important? Because when you do the ski, you see, that's what gets hit, okay? And that's where now there's no mass penetrating the target. It bounces off in that remainder of inertia, right? Newton's law of opposite and equal, and now your stance absorbs it going this way, okay? All right, so let's go back to the other correct hip, knee, foot, making that foot slightly turned in, okay? And let's pay attention to this angle here. Remember, I said you're too far forward on this angle, okay? And let me show you when you start to apply pressure, and I want you to keep the posture, got it? So I'm going to apply pressure, you're going to keep the posture. Keep it hard, use all your muscles to keep it. And you tell me where you start to feel the pressure. Keep it hard. Come on, come on, come on.
Almost in my rear, this groin.
Okay, but I'm moving you. I don't want to move you. Use your muscle. Use your muscle. Use your muscle. Where do you feel it?
In the back.
Yes. You see? In the lower back. Okay. Which is very, very vulnerable. Okay. So just your lower back is actually holding what we think the leg is holding. You see, a lot of people think, no, this is very strong because you have the leg. It's only as strong as your ability to keep your back into that angle, and the back's not very strong, okay? All right, so here's what we're gonna do instead, is bring this foot in, this back foot, so it's not straight, but more drop. I have more weight onto the front leg, but there's an actual knee bend on that base there. And I will bring it out as you did a little more. You see, I'm off that tightrope because my power is going to come from the quad. It's not going to come from a bracing angle and my back trying to hold the utility of the bracing angle. Okay? So I'm a little wider. And what I mean by that is in your first stance, you're on this line. On this one, I'm not. Do you see? I'm over more. Okay, got it? And now, don't use the Joe yet. Think of this angle being more vertical. Can you get it? As opposed to more angled. Angled, you're gonna put it on the arch, you see? And that's why a lot of Chiba Sensei people, that thing comes up all the time. You're going to be trying to keep your ankle angle as close to 90. You can't, but that's what you're thinking. Okay, stay there. Give me your hand. And now you're bracing on the back foot. And your torso can now relax. You see? I'm gonna start pushing harder. You'll never feel it in your back. Do you see? Okay, get the jaw out. Don't get overzealous and go back to that other one. Keep your back neutral. Ground the back foot. And you can see how much more relaxed you are. You see? Okay? And so, totally different. And really the difference is, one, I'm gonna put this jaw through your chest, or you're going frickin' back there. Or two, I get bounced off, or I hurt my back. Do you see that? Okay, so we can work with this one. You're doing Kessa. Come around. Good. Okay. And so when I go down, I don't want to go into this. Okay. Boom. I have to go into. Into this. I'm not 50-50, but I'm not off of that rear ankle. Okay? All right, let's have you guys try. Good. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Good. Okay, and we'll switch roles. Good. Okay. Okay, so there's one adjustment that you made, Taylor, that you did not make. You have the stance, but you did not make it. And so I'm going to ask you some questions to get in there. Okay, you did not have to take Ukemi, Taylor, and you had to take Ukemi, Sean. Now, why did you not have to take Ukemi?
The penetration wasn't
there was no penetration there. So you had the last stance, but it's not close enough. Do you see that? The range capacity of the incorrect stance and the correct stance are not the same. The correct stance does not have the same amount of range penetration. Do you get it? It has better range integrity, penetration integrity, but does not have the same range capacity, okay? Your change that you made was, I didn't go as far out on my angle of deflection, angle of deviation. I adopted the Mai for the Irimi. You kept the same old angle of deflection, angle of deviation range, Mai, for the old range penetration capacity. Do you get that? Okay, now though, let's go back and realize there's a reason for that. Let's look at the technique, okay? Go slow. And here we go. What's that? What'd you just do? What'd you just do? What's that called?
A clash.
That's a block. And there's no blocks in Aikido. Okay? Now, if he full on threw that strike, that little block isn't going to stop that weapon. Do you get it? So I don't want you to kill him, but kind of give it some energy. Do you see? Okay. What are you supposed to do? So what kind of training are we doing there?
We're just working to be strong.
No. We do that training, and it's in you. That's why you did it. But the understanding is not accurate. So in other words, I do hold my Joe up, and he does touch it. But I'm not blocking it. I'm not trying to be strong. You understood that. Okay? What are we doing instead? What's that training called? The other one is called application. This one's called what? Starts with an E. Embryonic, okay? So what I'm doing in embryonic training is his weapon stops being a Joe, and it is now an angle that I can use to draw what Parker calls complementary angles that will make up my combined line of attack, line of defense. Meaning my defense, the shielding of my body, is in my attacking of his body. Okay? And this line is giving me a visual tactile cue that I learn. Okay? So the angle that your Joe takes, how it got there, yes, that's the same. And the angle that it comes into for the attack, straight down his weapon now, go ahead, to the hands, don't move your feet because that's incorrect, okay, is my line of attack. But I'm not blocking it. Do you get it? Okay, so let's go back. And now that we're on the same page, go back, please. And let's get the right mice. Go. Here we go. 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 Do it again. Embryonic. Do embryonic, Sean. Try it again, Sean. Go. Okay, stay. Stay. And I'll trade out with you. Okay. All right. We know for you to get power, the right hand has to go underneath, and you have to mimic, basically, Makiatoshi. Got it? And then it comes up, and now you do that stance. Okay, got it? Okay. So let's rewind the film, and we'll trade out because we only have 3 people here. You're going to use yours, and you're going to go back onto his head. Okay? All right, Sean, you're going to do that same thing. You're going to put that right hand underneath you. Cool, stop. Go back a little. Go back a little. Go back a little. And you need to hit his hands. There you go. Stop. Okay. Is this correct? No, it's too narrow. You need to give yourself that extra inch. Do you see? And now you want to move your body. Don't leave your right hand where it is, because we know that this my is correct. Now we know my right hand is supposed to be under my body. Okay? So it's not right now, it's forward. So we're going to move my body forward. Move that whole stance. Move your foot too. Nope, you're confused. You stepped in the wrong place. Go back where you are. Stay there. Stay there, please. You're going to leave the right hand here in space, and you're going to move your hanmi, your whole hanmi forward. Move your whole hanmi. Move the whole hanmi. That's too much. Here, get your foot back. Get your right foot back. Do you get it? Do you understand now? Stay there. Now you are in the right place for power on the right hand, weight over the Joe, and the right amount of margin for error on the attack that you're trying to do. Got it? Okay, let's rewind the film. And look at where you are to his body now. It is much closer. Do you see that? Before, you were probably another 8 inches away from him, the chest-to-chest distance. Do you see? Okay, so let's go ahead. Go back 8 inches. Cool. Come down. And let's do our correct idimi. And you'll see that you'll underpenetrate. Do you see? Okay, now let's go back. Let's get ourselves where we need to be. You could find it the way I told you to find it. So go ahead and strike the hands so that you have that extra inch on the other side of the target. Do you understand? See that? That's what you want. Stay there. That's a basic of stick fighting. Okay? Now let's move my body. There you go. All right. And now let's do the correct idimi, and you'll see plenty of penetration. Do you see that? Okay, so if we go Please.
Hey.
If we're going here and I'm like out here, then I would tell you that you miss, and this doesn't have the right penetration either, okay? But also very common. Let me go again, right? I'm over here, and then, oh, I barely got it, you see? I barely got it. You look at that, barely got it. And then, I don't really have it either, okay? But if you start going, start at the top, and I'm here, I'm like, BAM! And I'm hitting those hands, and you can see how close my range, my chest to chest range is on him to do the boom, and then you have plenty of penetration. Okay, do you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the other one makes everything else wrong, makes it all not work. You see? It's not martial because I don't even have the range of penetration. Because in order for it to even get close to working, I gotta block and miss your hands and not penetrate down to your center, which is the definition of a toshi, right? Boom, I gotta drop your center, not just hit your hands, all right? I gotta cut an angle that's going through your center. And that's gonna require that extra inch over the hand strike, which again is consistent with levers. When you're using levers, sticks, batons, you gotta give that margin for error. You can't just aim on the tip, okay? But it gets all wrong. It's not biomechanically sound, and it is not martially sound. It all just goes to shit. But everyone does it because it looks like Aikido. To me, it looks stupid. It looks stupid as all hell is what it looks like, okay? Because I don't fall for the style anymore. I see it all and I go, nah, it would never work. I see the back. Do you see?